Saturday night, in case you missed it, the Springboks, led by Siya Kolisi, managing to get another one-point win to get through to the finals of the Rugby World Cup. That's after Siya led them in their one-point victory over France the weekend before. Never happened before, insofar as I know. Teams got through to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, but just 1 point in each game. So then, what kind of qualities does a leader like Siya Kolisi have? What can we learn from the way he leads his team? Dr. Tinashe Harry is a senior lecturer in industrial and organizational psychology at Mandela University. Dr. Harry, good afternoon to you. We sort of all know the Siya Kolisi story. Born into very difficult circumstances, looked after by his grandmother, plays rugby, gets accepted into a suburban school, a formerly white school, to play rugby, becomes a rugby star, goes on to captain the national team. It's an incredible story. How would it have formed him as a leader?
Thank you, Stephen, and good afternoon to all your viewers. So the way we look at it, we do what we call psychobiographical research, in which we look at the innate motivation and look also at the external world in which a person lives. So you look at the kind of motivation a person has, what kind of internal drive do they have. So if you look at Siya Kolisi, from his background, we all know what kind of background he grew up in. So we look at how did that make him to be who he is now. Because as human beings, we respond differently to such circumstances. That's why you find that other people who are also growing up in the same circumstances with them are struggling to get out of those circumstances. And for him, it was not only about the internal aspects, but also the external aspects in which he found himself in.
So is it about, in a way, perhaps a kind of strength that some other people may not have? I know in Britain, for example, there are conversations around the kind of communities that develop really good football stars. Some of them very different, of course, in the UK to here, but some of them sometimes similar stories to Siya Kolisi.
Yes, so it is about the community. So if you look at mostly in our townships here in South Africa, they do not have that support that they require for them to flourish like what Siya is doing, because one can just think about it. If Siya had not managed to secure that scholarship to grade school, what would have turned up about his life? So being able to have that social support system, those structures, because if you look at our local schools, most of them, they're under-resourced, they're underfunded. They don't have the infrastructure, because even Siya, he does mention that in his autobiography that the school which he went to before he transferred to grade school did not have the infrastructure for him to be able to develop into a rugby player. So it's a matter of providing such kind of infrastructures for the people to develop and flourish.
There's something here about resilience. Would he have learned resilience along the way? And that resilience been so important in his kind of leadership?
Yes, it is important. It is something that he also developed from a young, from his upbringing, because resilience comes in different forms. Sometimes you'll find that it is innate. You'll find that there are those people who have a positive outlook to life. No matter what is happening in their life, they always have this positive outlook. And some people have the ability to emotionally regulate themselves. So being able to stay calm under different circumstances, even you're facing different challenges. Some people have that belief in themselves that they can be able to overcome any challenges. Then there are sometimes when you have to learn how to be able to cope with any challenges that you are experiencing. So being able to reframe the negative thoughts that you are having, being able to focus on the positive aspects of the situation and maintaining hope for a better future. So this is how we're able to learn to manage and regulate our emotions. And through all this, for a person to be able to be resilient, it goes back again to the support system. We need that support system, because if you look at Siya, he had a support system. You look at his grandmother, she offered that support system that he needed. You look at his first coach, Eric Sogupri, I think he also offered that support. And you look at the school that he went to, they offered the support and structure which offered him the opportunity to develop the resilience. And it also goes into his teams that he has played for. Those teams offered that support structure which allowed him to become more resilient.
There are other things to this, and I find this so interesting because there's some there's some situations that humans face where the sort of colder you are, if I can use that phrase, the sort of more rational you are, the calmer you are, let me use that, the calmer you are, the better it is. Like golf would probably be a good example. That's why it's such a boring sport. Rugby is slightly different because I think passion matters in rugby. Now, I think some people have made the point that perhaps we wanted to win more than England, perhaps we wanted to win more than France did. What Siya Kolisi seems to be able to do, which is unbelievable, is marry that passion with that iron discipline, which you need to win a rugby match.
Yes, he has been able to match that passion, and within matching that passion, it also needs to be balanced with, because I believe rugby is a gentleman's game. At the end of the day, you need to shake hands with your opponent, and he always respects his opponents. The fight ends in the field, and after the 80 minutes is done, he respects his opponents, he respects his teamwork, his teammates, he respects the coaches that he has. So it is a matter of trying to be able to control that aggressiveness that you need for you to be able to win the matches. Because that's where you tend to find that some people will lose control and become more violent even in the field. So we need to be able to remain calm in those circumstances, because I wouldn't see myself being hit, being tackled by another person, then getting up, shaking hands with that particular person. But it is something that Siya has been able to exhibit throughout his career and throughout his leadership as well.
I can see that both you and he come from the Eastern Cape, Dr. Harry. There's something else about Siya Kolisi, and I think this is a big part of it, is his family. Is that he and his wife, Rachel Kolisi, have not just their own children, but in fact adopted two of his half-siblings. Is there something in that as well? What I'm trying to get to is, I mean, it's not just that he leads on the field. In his personal life, there's an important story there too.
Yes, it is very important, because if you look at him, the way he was brought up, he didn't have that family. Because if you look at his father, he was not there. His mother was not really involved in his upbringing. So now that he is having his own family, he's trying to create that image of a parent, a father, and being available for his children. So even you can hear from his interviews that he is trying to be in touch more with his emotions. As you know, as men, we are not allowed to show any vulnerabilities because people perceive us as weak. So now he is trying to tune into that emotional aspect of him, for him to be able to offer the support and the love to his family. And his family has been a strong support structure for him.
And Dr. Harry, men are only allowed to cry if we win the World Cup. That's a joke.
Yes.
There's something to that, because, I mean, if you watch the national team, and so many people will say to me, you know, one of the reasons I like to watch the national team is you see people from different parts of our society hugging each other, sometimes kissing each other too on the forehead, but like literally showing incredible emotion that you don't really see men. I mean, you see it on the football field, but I think maybe with the Springbok team, maybe it's a bit different. And I mean, you see the relationship between him and, say, Ebenezabeth, very, very close, and they actually talk about that. I mean, they actually use the word that they love each other. You don't hear men talking about that, but they do. There's something in the whole teamwork of it.
Yes, it is in the teamwork, the culture that they try to cultivate within that team, trying to be there as family. Because even if you hear how Rassi addresses them, because I think I recently saw another clip in which he was addressing them, telling them that even though you have made it as a Springbok player, you need to remain humble. So it tells you that they are creating a family culture vibes within that context that they are working in. They are not only seeing each other as team members, they are there to support each other, whether as teammates or as friends outside the field.
There's so many lessons for our country in the story of Siya Kolisi and what leadership is, aren't there? I mean, we talk about, in the political field, we talk about a lack of leadership all the time. People make this complaint from time to time. It seems very different. I mean, Siya Kolisi, I mean, I don't know if it's possible to follow that example because it's so extraordinary.
Yes, it is extraordinary, and that is why we try to study and understand how a person like Siya Kolisi was able to overcome the adversities that he faced to be where he is, and how is he managing it to become a leader that he is right now. So yes, it is possible to copy that into other fields, in your businesses, in your political arenas, just trying to understand what is it that motivated him, how did he overcome the challenges that he faced as a captain, because as a captain you are the leader, so you face challenges. How do you overcome those challenges? So by taking those ways or those coping mechanisms that they used within that rugby field, we can test them out in other fields, your business and your politics as well.
Dr. Tinashe Harry, I hope you and I are both crying on Saturday night. Thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate it.
I hope so.